My fiancée said yes to my proposal, but hours later I caught her kissing my brother. Years later, I made them kneel for mercy with one cold move. Okay, so I, 29 male, have rewritten this post like 5 times trying not to sound insane, but screw it. Here's the full mess. Fake account because my family stalks worse than the FBI. I started dating that girl, I'll use the name Sasha, back in high school. We were both seniors and prom was coming up. I wasn't like super popular or anything, but I wasn't a total loser either. Just an average dude who played some sports, got decent grades, and kept to myself mostly. Sasha was different though. Everyone knew her. She wasn't like head cheerleader popular. More like the girl who was friends with everyone. Smart, pretty, always smiling. I had this massive crush on her for like a year, but never had the balls to ask her out. Then prom was coming up and my buddy was like, dude, just ask her already. So, I did. Surprised the hell out of me when she said yes. Prom night was actually awesome. We clicked way better than I expected and started officially dating like a week later. Then we both got into the same college, which was crazy lucky. Spent all 4 years together. Moved in after graduation. Everything was going perfect. Like one of those relationships people are jealous of. I have to give you some background on my family situation first. My younger brother Liam, 27 male, was always my parents' favorite. No question about it. Dude was better looking, better at sports, more outgoing, got all the girls. Classic little brother who overshadowed the older one. Growing up, it was always Liam this and Liam that, while I just kind of existed in the background. When we were little kids, we got along fine. Used to build forts and play video games together, normal brother stuff. But when he hit high school and I was already in college, the gap between us got bigger. He'd come visit me at college and instantly be the guy everyone wanted to hang with. It was annoying, but I was used to it by then. Liam and Sasha knew each other from high school since he was only 2 years behind us. They were friendly, but I never thought much of it. They'd talk at family gatherings or when he came to visit. But so what? My girlfriend and my brother getting along seemed like a good thing. But I can't lie, there were subtle things that annoyed me a little, but I didn't address it. Like how they'd text sometimes and she'd laugh at her phone, then just say, "Oh, it's your brother being dumb." Or how they seemed to have these inside jokes I wasn't part of. At parties, my friends would sometimes make comments like, "Wow, Sasha and Liam have such great chemistry." Or, "They're so similar." It's crazy. I just laughed it off cause what else was I going to do? Sasha always came home with me. Always said she loved me. Always talked about our future together. After 7 years with Sasha, I was ready to propose. Saved up for months to get a decent ring. Nothing crazy expensive, but not cheap either. Planned this whole thing at this fancy Italian restaurant we went to on our first real date in college. Made reservations. Told the staff what I was planning. The whole 9 yards. Also arranged for both our families and some close friends to meet at our apartment after for a surprise celebration. The proposal itself went exactly how I planned. Dinner was great. We had dessert come out with the ring box on the plate. I got down on one knee, gave this speech I practiced for weeks, totally blanked and probably sounded like an idiot, but whatever. She started crying, said yes, and the whole restaurant applauded. One of those moments where everything feels perfect, you know? After dinner, we went back to our apartment where everyone was waiting to surprise us. Sasha acted shocked even though she probably figured it out. Her dad made this emotional toast that had everyone tearing up. Even Liam seemed happy for us, giving me a bro hug and telling me, "You're a lucky man." He was quieter than usual, but I figured he was just tired or something. The celebration went on for hours. People laughing and talking about wedding plans already. I remember thinking this was the happiest night of my life, like I'd finally made it somehow. My girlfriend of 7 years had just agreed to marry me. We had good jobs, a nice apartment, supportive families, or so I thought. Everything was falling into place exactly how it's supposed to. It was getting late, probably around midnight, when people started heading out. Most of Sasha's friends had already left. My college roommate and his wife were the last to go besides family. I was in the kitchen rinsing glasses, still riding that engagement high, you know. I noticed Liam slipping out the back door with a cigarette in hand. Typical him. Needed his late night smoke break. A few minutes later, Sasha passed through and casually said she was going to take care of something real quick before joining me. Didn't think much of it at first, but time started stretching weird. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Still no sign of either of them, and it hit me like a brick. Why were they both missing at the same time? Something about it just didn't sit right. I couldn't explain it, but there was this weird static in my chest. Maybe my brain was finally connecting all those quiet red flags I'd swerved around for years. I made my way down the hall. The bedroom where we dumped all the coats had the door cracked open. Not fully closed, just enough to see a sliver of light. I figured maybe Sasha was in there looking for something. I pushed the door open and everything just stopped. Liam had Sasha pinned up against the wall. His hands were everywhere and she wasn't even pretending to resist. She was kissing him like he was the love of her life, like I didn't exist. They were so into it they didn't even notice me standing there at first. And the thing is, I was standing there like an idiot, still in the same damn clothes I wore to propose to her. I had spent weeks planning that night. Picked the playlist, lit up the backyard with string lights, wore the blazer she once said made me look put together. I just slipped the ring on her finger a few hours ago. People were still congratulating us. And yet, I'm standing there frozen, watching the girl I just asked to spend forever with grind up against my brother, like I was a stranger at a party. I felt my chest tighten, like adrenaline kicked in before my thoughts could. I couldn't move. It felt like someone else's life, like I'd stumbled into the wrong house or something. But no, that was my house, my fiancé, my engagement night, and worse, my brother. I don't really remember deciding to hit him. It was like my body moved on its own. 1 second I was frozen in the doorway. The next I had tackled Liam to the ground and was throwing punches. We knocked over the nightstand, smashed a lamp, tore down the curtains. Sasha was screaming for us to stop, but I couldn't even hear her properly, like her voice was coming from underwater or something. My dad and Sasha's brother rushed in and pulled us apart. My lip was split open, knuckles bleeding. Liam already had a black eye forming and blood coming from his nose. We were both breathing hard, staring at each other with pure hatred. What the hell is going on? I shouted, looking between them. Sasha was just standing there crying, mascara running down her face, not saying a single word to defend herself. Liam wiped blood from his nose and had the nerve to say, "I'm sorry, man. It just happened. Just happened." Like he accidentally fell on her face with his lips. Like they somehow ended up tangled together by mistake. Just happened. You're making out with my fiancé on the night I proposed and it just happened. By this point, everyone had crowded into the bedroom doorway, staring with these shocked expressions. My mom was doing that hand over mouth thing. Sasha's parents looked like they'd seen a ghost. I looked back at Sasha, waiting for her to say something, anything. Explain it was a mistake, beg for forgiveness, tell me she was drunk, something. But she just stared at the floor, tears running down her face, completely silent. And that's when I knew this wasn't their first time. This had been going on behind my back, probably for years. How long? I asked, my voice weirdly calm, considering I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. More silence. How effing long? I shouted, making everyone jump. Liam looked at Sasha, then back at me. It's complicated. I laughed, but it sounded crazy even to my own ears. Complicated? That's what you're going with? Is that what you call knocking your brother's girlfriend behind his back for God knows how long? Complicated. It wasn't like that, Sasha finally spoke, her voice small. We never meant to hurt you. Well, you did a crap job then, I yelled. Get out. All of you get the hell out of my apartment right now. My parents tried to calm me down, saying we should all talk this through when everyone wasn't so emotional, like this was just some minor disagreement that could be fixed with a good night's sleep. There's nothing to talk about, I said. You have 5 minutes to get your stuff and get out before I start throwing it out the window. Liam tried to approach me, but my dad held him back. Smart move, probably because I was ready to start swinging again. They all filed out except Sasha, who tried to touch my arm. I jerked away like her hand was on fire. I need to get some clothes, my phone charger, she started. Take what you need for tonight. Come back for the rest when I'm not here, I said, not even looking at her. Text me before you come. I don't want to see your face. She started crying harder. Please, can we just talk about this? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. On the night I asked you to marry me, you were in our bedroom with your tongue down his throat. What part am I misunderstanding? We never slept together. I swear, she said. It was just feelings. We tried to fight it for so long. But tonight when you proposed, tonight when I proposed, what? You decided to celebrate by making out with my brother? That was your breaking point? Get your things and get out, Sasha. We're done. That's when the switch flipped. The tears dried up real quick. She crossed her arms and goes, I'm not going anywhere. We split the rent, remember? I paid just as much to live here. Like she hadn't just nuked the entire relationship in 10 seconds flat. Like the fact that the mortgage and title were in my name didn't matter because she Venmo'd me half the rent each month. I just stood there stunned. She was still pushing back. Then she hits me with, you know what? I never even liked you. Not in high school, not ever. I just felt bad for you. You were just the awkward guy who followed me around. I dated you because no one else asked. You should be grateful I tolerated you all these years. Like dating me was some kind of charity mission. Before I could even react, she stormed off down the hall like I was the villain. Slammed the door like she was the one who got betrayed, and that's when it hit me. I wasn't just losing a fiancé. I'd been living with someone who never respected me. Just a guy she pitied enough to tolerate. While everyone was still standing there watching the drama, I just walked down the hall, opened the bedroom door, and grabbed the ring box off the nightstand, walked back to the living room where Liam and my parents were still standing like stunned extras in a bad soap opera. Without saying a word, I opened the box, took the ring out, and dropped it in the trash. Looked Liam dead in the eye, and said, "Congrats. You want a liar who walks away when things get real? Must run in the family." Then I opened the front door and told them to get out. After everyone left, I just sat on the couch in our dark living room. Engagement ring still in my pocket. Felt like I was in some kind of nightmare. How do you go from the happiest moment of your life to the worst in the span of a few hours? The next morning was weird as hell, like I was hungover from emotional whiplash. The apartment was trashed from the party and the fight. I started cleaning up mechanically, not even thinking about what I was doing. Started getting texts around noon. Friends who'd been at the party checking in. Sasha trying to arrange when to get her stuff. My mom saying they were worried about me. Ignored all of them. Just kept cleaning like if I could get the apartment back to normal, maybe my life would follow. That night, I sat down and started mentally mapping everything out. Finding a new apartment, changing my number, removing Sasha from all our shared accounts, figuring out what to do with all the stuff we'd accumulated together, and even debating whether I should quit my job just to avoid running into her since we worked in the same building. It was a mess. Overwhelming for sure, but weirdly enough, it felt like a start. Like I was finally taking the wheel back in a life that had just gone completely off the rails. Next morning, Sasha texted asking to come get some clothes. I told her I'd leave them in the hall and wouldn't be home. Packed up a bunch of her basics, left them outside, and went to a coffee shop for hours. Came back to find she'd taken the stuff, but also left her key and a letter. I almost threw the letter in trash without reading it. Wish I had. It was all, "I never meant for this to happen and I really did love you and I hope someday you can forgive us." Classic cheater bullshit. One time she disrespects me. The other says she was in love like clockwork. The worst part was at the end. I think deep down I've always had feelings for Liam, even before you and I got together. There's just something about him I couldn't resist. I fought it for years because I cared about you, too. But I can't fight it anymore. I hope someday you'll understand. That honestly broke me all over again. 7 years of my life wasted on someone who always had feelings for my brother, who couldn't resist him. Was I just a placeholder the whole time? A safe option until she could be with who she really wanted? I called my landlord and gave notice on the apartment. No way was I staying in a place filled with memories of her, of us, of what I thought we had. For 3 days straight, I didn't answer calls or texts from anyone. Turned my phone off most of the time. On the 4th day, there was a knock at the door. I almost didn't answer, but they kept knocking. It was my parents. Mom had that concerned look she gets. And Dad looked uncomfortable as hell. "We need to talk," Mom said. I stepped aside to let them in, but didn't offer them anything to drink or sit down. Just stood there with my arms crossed, waiting for whatever they came to say. That's when they dropped the nuke on what was left of my life. They'd known about Liam and Sasha for years. Not just suspected, known. Apparently, they'd been having an on and off thing behind my back since sophomore year of college. My parents found out about 2 years ago when my mom walked in on them at one of our family cabin during a summer vacation. Funny thing is, my cousin actually made some weird comment after that trip. Something like, "Family loyalty sure has a weird definition around here." I didn't get what she meant back then. Now it makes perfect sense. All these flashbacks were racing in my mind as Dad was talking nonsense. "We didn't tell you because we didn't want to hurt you," my dad explained. Like that made it better somehow. "Sasha promised it was over. She said she really loved you and made a mistake." I literally couldn't believe what I was hearing. A mistake that kept happening for years, and you both knew and said nothing. "Liam is our son, too," my mom said quietly. "We didn't want to lose either of you." That's when I realized the truth. I'd been too blind to see my whole life. I was never the priority. Not once. Liam was always the golden child and I was just there. Even when he was actively betraying me in the worst way possible, they still protected him over me. "So you let me propose to a cheater instead." I was shaking. I was so angry. "You sat there during the proposal dinner, during the party, knowing what they'd been doing behind my back, knowing she was lying to my face every day. We thought it was in the past." My dad said, We didn't want to ruin your relationship over something we thought was over. Well, it wasn't over, was it? I said, and instead of finding out 2 years ago when I could have moved on, I found out after I proposed. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? How much worse you made this by hiding it. Mom started crying, which she always does when she's losing an argument. Classic manipulation tactic I've seen my whole life. We were trying to protect you, she sobbed. Then Mom jumped in. Tone way too calm for the crap she was about to say. Look, Sasha has the right to fall in love with someone who really gets her. Liam's more laid back. He balances her out. You're always so uptight. I just stared at her. That's when it all snapped into place. You know what? Congrats, I said, voice shaking more from clarity than rage. You can keep choosing him like always. Because I'm done with all of you. Get out of my apartment. You don't mean that, Mom said. We're your family. Yeah, I said, walking to the door. And that's the saddest part. They left finally. And that was the last real conversation I had with them for 2 years. They tried calling, texting, showing up at my place, but I shut it all down, changed my number, cut them off completely. I found out later from one of our mutual friends that Sasha moved in with Liam like 2 weeks after our breakup. 2 weeks. So much for just feelings and never slept together. What a load of bullshit. They'd probably been planning to get together all along and were just waiting for the right moment to blow up my life. The hardest part wasn't even losing Sasha. I was actually glad I got rid of that snake early on before getting tied to her. But it was realizing my entire family had betrayed me. That every memory I had was now tainted by knowing they'd all been lying to my face. That family dinner 6 months ago, they all knew. Christmas, they knew. My birthday, they knew. For a while, I couldn't trust anyone. Started questioning every relationship I had. Did my friends know, too? Was everyone laughing behind my back while poor stupid me had no clue my girlfriend was hooking up with my brother? I spent a lot of time angry, like scary angry. But eventually, I started putting myself back together, focused on work, started hitting the gym, made some new friends who didn't know Sasha or Liam or any of that history. Slowly, day by day, I started feeling like myself again, or maybe a new version of myself. Harder, more careful, less trusting, but stronger, too. I got a new place on the other side of town. Started building a routine. Work, gym, cooking actual meals instead of just eating takeout. Hanging with new friends who didn't give a heck about my drama. Through all that time, I didn't contact my family. They tried reaching out at first, but I left every call unanswered and every message unread. If loyalty is a two-way street, they'd crashed the car years ago. Then one night, I was out with some work friends at this bar downtown. Hadn't been there in ages because it used to be a place Sasha and I would go. Thought I was over it enough that it wouldn't matter. Big mistake. Guess who was there? Liam and Sasha, looking all coupley in a booth with some friends. They hadn't seen me yet. I froze, didn't know whether to leave or what. Then my buddy noticed something was off and followed my gaze. He knew the basics of my story, though not all the details, and immediately was like, let's bounce. This place sucks anyway. But before we could leave, Liam looked up and saw me. Our eyes locked for like 3 seconds. He nudged Sasha and she turned around. When she saw me, her face did this weird thing like she was happy to see me for a split second before remembering everything that happened. I just turned and walked out. Didn't say anything. Didn't make a scene. Just left. My friends followed, confused but supportive. The next morning, I woke up with a text from an unknown number. It was Liam. Good to see you last night. We should talk sometime. I stared at that text for way too long before deleting it and blocking the number. Talk about what? How he and my parents lied to me for years. How he was screwing my girlfriend behind my back. How they waited until after I proposed to blow up my life. Nah, I was good. A year passed, then another. I was doing better. Got promoted at work. Even went on a few casual dates. Nothing serious. Wasn't ready for that yet. But I was functioning, living, moving forward. Then after years of going no contact, my mom suddenly started calling from random numbers I didn't recognize. I kept blocking them, but she kept finding new ones. After like the 5th call, I finally picked up, ready to tell her to leave me the hell alone for good. Please don't hang up, she said immediately. It's about the baby. What baby? I asked, completely confused. Your baby? She said. With Sasha? I literally laughed out loud. I don't have a baby with Sasha. We haven't spoken in 2 years. She says it's yours. My mom insisted from right before you broke up. She didn't know she was pregnant until after. That's when I knew they were completely full of nonsense. Sasha and I hadn't been intimate for like a month before the proposal. She kept making excuses. Headaches, period, Too tired, stressed about work. Now I knew why. She was probably with Liam that whole time. That's literally impossible, I said. Where's Sasha now? Let me talk to her. My mom hesitated. She's not here anymore. She left. Then the whole story came tumbling out. Sasha had given birth to a baby boy 3 months ago. Liam had been super excited about becoming a dad. They had been playing happy family, posting all over social media. I wouldn't know since I had them all blocked, getting lots of congratulations and baby gifts. My parents were over the moon about their first grandchild, but apparently motherhood wasn't all Sasha expected. 6 weeks after giving birth, she packed her bags and bailed. Left a note saying motherhood wasn't for her, that she had lost herself and needed to find her way again. She'd moved to California with some guy she met online and basically abandoned both Liam and the baby. Liam's struggling, my mom said. He can't work and take care of a newborn. We've been helping, but we're not young anymore. The baby needs his father. It took me a second to process what she was saying. Wait, you think I'm the father after you just told me Sasha bailed on her own kid because motherhood was too hard? You really think I'm that naive? We did a home DNA test. My dad's voice suddenly came on. They must have had me on speaker. The baby isn't Liam's. It has to be yours. Or one of the other guys she was probably seeing. I yelled. I'm not taking responsibility for Liam and Sasha's mess. Figure it out yourselves. We're your family. My mom pleaded. This is your nephew, even if he's not your son. Don't punish an innocent baby for what Liam and Sasha did. That's when it finally clicked. You want me to raise my brother's kid because that snake abandoned both of them after everything they did to me? Are you serious right now? Language, my mom said automatically. We need you to step up. Family helps family. You weren't thinking about family when you let me propose to a cheater. I shot back. You weren't thinking about family when you protected Liam instead of telling me the truth. You weren't thinking about family when you sat in this apartment and lied to my face for years. We're bringing him to your place tomorrow, my dad said, his voice all stern and authoritative like when I was a kid. You'll change your mind when you see him. I hung up and threw my phone so hard it cracked against the wall. The absolute nerve of these people. First, they cover up Liam and Sasha's affair for years. Then, they let me propose to her knowing she's been cheating. Then, they have the audacity to ask me to raise their abandoned baby because poor Liam can't handle being a single dad. What planet were they living on where this made any sense? I didn't sleep that night. Just paced around my apartment trying to figure out what to do. A plan started to shape in my head. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me anymore. I deserved better than this garbage. Way better. I called my buddy, who's a lawyer, to ask what my legal obligations would be if the kid really was mine, which I knew was impossible, but wanted to cover all bases. He said without a court-ordered paternity test, I had zero legal obligation to do anything. Even with a positive test, they'd need to file for child support through proper channels. Not just show up at my door demanding I take the kid. That gave me some peace of mind, at least legally, but I knew my parents. They wouldn't just give up. They'd keep pushing. Keep calling. Keep showing up until they wore me down. Classic manipulation tactics they'd used my whole life. So, I came up with a simple plan. Don't be there when they show up. I packed an overnight bag and went to stay with a friend. Told him the insane situation. And he was like, dude, your family is crazy. Understatement of the century. I texted my boss that I'd be working remotely for a few days due to a family emergency. Technically true, I guess. From my friend's couch, I started making calls. First to my landlord. Was there any way I could break my lease early? Then to a realtor, how quickly could I find a new place, preferably in another part of the city? Then to HR at work, were there any openings at our other offices I could transfer to? The universe must have been on my side for once because everything fell into place weirdly fast. There was an opening at our Seattle office. My landlord had another tenant interested in taking over my lease and a college friend in Seattle had a spare room I could crash in until I found my own place. I didn't tell anyone in my family what I was planning. Just stayed off their radar while I got everything sorted. I watched through my friend's security camera as my parents showed up at my apartment the next day with a baby carrier. I texted my dad, leave now or I'm calling the police. Not kidding. They kept knocking for like 30 minutes before finally giving up. My dad texted back, you're making a huge mistake. This is your son. I didn't bother responding. Just block that number, too. That night, I made one of the biggest decisions of my life. I was going to take that transfer to Seattle. Better position, more money, and most importantly, 2,000 miles away from my messed up family. I emailed my boss confirming I wanted the transfer as soon as possible. My boss was cool about it, fast-tracked the whole thing, so within 3 weeks, I was packing up my apartment. The day before I left, I sent one final email to my parents. I'm not your savior. I'm not your fallback plan. And that baby isn't mine. I hope every time you see the baby, you think about the son you erased. And every time someone asks where I went, you remember that you drove me away. I'm not coming back ever. Then I turned off my phone, loaded up my car with the few things I was taking with me, and hit the road. Felt like I could finally breathe again. Seattle was exactly what I needed. New city, new job, new people who didn't know anything about my drama. I rented a small apartment downtown, threw myself into work, and started building a life from scratch. For the first few months, I was constantly looking over my shoulder, worried they'd somehow track me down. Changed my number, deleted all social media, even used a P.O. box instead of my actual address for mail. Probably paranoid. But after everything that happened, can you blame me? But as time passed and they didn't show up, I started to relax. Started exploring my new city, making new friends, even adopted a dog from the local shelter, a goofy rescue mutt who needed someone as much as I did. About 6 months after I left, I got an email from a cousin I'd always been cool with. She said my parents had done a real DNA test on the baby. Turns out he wasn't Liam's or mine. Apparently Sasha had been seeing multiple guys the whole time. My cousin said Liam was devastated. Moved back in with my parents and they were raising the kid together since Sasha had signed away her parental rights. Part of me felt bad for the innocent kid, but a bigger part of me was just relieved. That email was the last contact I had with anyone from my old life. I sent my cousin a brief thanks for letting me know and asked her not to share my email with anyone else. She respected that. As far as I know, life went on. Seattle started to feel like home. My dog became my best buddy. Started dating casually again. Nothing serious, but it was nice to know I could still connect with people without constantly looking for red flags or waiting for betrayal. Sometimes I'd think about what happened and get angry all over again. But those moments got fewer and farther between. Eventually, it just became a crazy story from my past rather than an open wound. It's weird how things work out. 2 years ago, I thought my life was over. Now, I can honestly say I've never been happier. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the one you're born with. And sometimes a dog and a fresh start are all you really need.